This is not the world's cutest shirt, but I'm hot. Hi friends, welcome back to the Avocado Toast Budget. If you're new here, my name is Lexa, and today we're going to break down the cost of moving from my apartment to moving to my first home. Now I will say I've been living in this new house for a couple of months, month and a half-ish. I'm only like 80% unpacked, so there's a good chance that there are going to be other things that I'll eventually need to buy for this house. I'm still kind of working my way into growing into this house because it is a 3-bedroom and I moved from a 1-bedroom. So this is not like the definitive list, but for now, this is covering like pretty much everything. So let's go ahead and go over a quick overview. If you haven't seen my video about kind of like my moving journey after I first got settled in, I will link that up here if you're interested in kind of like the process of it, some things that went wrong, what I wasn't expecting. But today is more about like the finances of moving, but I also think it's good to have a little bit of context. So let's start off with some context, a little bit of an overview. I recently moved from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom house in the same city. I'm still renting, I'm just renting a house. So today's video is kind of about how much more I'm paying in rent and all of the expenses that came with moving and furnishing 2 extra bedrooms. And there were some expenses that I didn't see coming and that I think you definitely could learn from if you are someone who is like getting ready to move, or you're going from living in an apartment to living in a home, because those 2 things are very different in my opinion. And I have learned a lot along the way, and I imagine I will keep learning, but there were some unforeseen expenses that had to occur. I do want to put a disclaimer out there that I live in a pretty low cost of living city. The last time I checked, it was considered to be one of the lowest cost of living like college cities in the US. I think that the cost of living is dramatically rising, which is why I wanted to move when I did, because rent has already gone up and I have a good feeling rent is just going to continue to skyrocket. So keep that in mind. Don't compare, like, I don't want someone to take this as like a definitive list of how much you should budget. Instead, I want you to be able to see what are some things that I needed to budget for, how much should I spend on those things, and then use that to kind of construct your budget, or you can just creep on all of my personal expenses that it took in case you like creeping on people's finances. And I'm not saying that in a judging way, because I love those like budget with me videos, and I love videos where I get to see exactly how much money people are spending. So if that's why you're here, full respect, that's why I would be here. Also keep in mind that what matters to me might not matter to you and vice versa. So there are certain things that I'm willing to spend more on, knowing that I need to cut back in other places that I don't care about as much. And therefore the money that I spent is definitely going to reflect my personal preferences. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. The dory hair. Okay. The first thing that I want to cover are the changes to my monthly expenses, because I think that that's a big one here. This was the biggest jump I have ever made to paying rent. For really the last like 3 or 4 years, I've been paying around the same amount. At my last apartment, I paid $817, and that was everything included except for electricity. That was internet, trash, water, yeah. Internet, trash, water, heat was electric there. So $817 other than electric was all that got taken out of my account. And now at this house, I pay $1250, and that's just rent. That didn't cover anything else, including some expenses I've never had to pay for when it comes to rent. I pay about $40 to $80 a month to mow. That is definitely like done now where I live. It is cold, everything is dying. I'm not gonna need someone to come mow for a while, but I was usually paying like once or twice a month for someone to come out and mow from what I had seen, given the fact that I moved in like the August, September time. I pay $18 a month in trash, $49 for internet, and then I've got a good feeling that my energy bill is going to increase. In the city I live in, one energy company covers electric, gas, and water. And my guess from what I've seen so far is that being in a bigger house now, it is probably going to increase by like $50 to $100 a month. Of course, that's probably going to be more during the summer because I prefer my house to be cold. So it doesn't bother me right now that my house is on the colder side. So I'm using a lot less in gas to heat up my house, but I know during the winter I'm gonna spend more in electric to keep it cool. So that is a difference of about $680 a month-ish more that I am paying now. And that number I didn't include in the total cost, since that's like a month-to-month cost. But yeah, that's a huge increase in rent that I've never increased it that much. The apartment I lived in before cost about $800. The one before that was like $650, and then the one before that was like $500. So I've had incremental increases. I've always lived in a 1-bedroom, except when I lived in a 3-bedroom with 2 other people, but I had 1 bedroom for myself. I've always only had 1 bedroom for myself. Now I have 3 bedrooms for 1 me. Oh, how the turntables. I'm excited. In my opinion, this was beyond worth the bigger increase. I have been keeping my cost of living really low, focused on not increasing my lifestyle inflation, which is when we tend to spend more money as we make more money, and then we get used to kind of living a higher quality of life, bigger houses, nicer cars, that kind of thing. And that can usually kind of, sometimes it can spiral out of control and cause you to overspend or cause you to never really be able to save any more money, because as you make more, you just keep increasing your spending. So I've been really conscious about not increasing my lifestyle as much as possible, but it was time. I was living the life of a college kid and I could not do it anymore. Are you okay? This scared you? Your brother was absolutely not fazed. And it didn't almost fall on him. He was perfectly safe. The chair blocked it. It fell on top of the chair that he is sitting on, and he could not be bothered. So now that we've established kind of how much more I'm paying on average per month, let's talk about the direct moving costs to move from my apartment to my house. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I moved within the same city, about like 10-15 minutes drive. I have made the move from Michigan to Missouri before. So if you're moving cities or states, that's going to add on a lot of extra money. I know. So one expense that I did go ahead and count in this is my 2 months of overlapped rent. My lease wasn't due on my apartment until October 11th. At the time I'm filming this, it's October 30th. So I've technically only been out of that lease for the last couple of weeks, but I've been out of that apartment for a while. And I talked more about why it made sense for me to do that in the video where I talked more about like the personal side and the reasonings behind my move. But that 2 months of overlap, I counted my apartment rent as the extra rent. So that equals $1,634 for 2 months of extra rent at my apartment. As a little side note, my apartment did not take a security deposit, but as far as I know, from what it looks like, they're also not going to charge me anything. They like threatened to charge for like anything, like if you had any holes in the wall or if you had a light bulb that was out, but it doesn't seem like they're going to do that. So I think I just came out even. I didn't have a security deposit to get back because I didn't put one down, but it also doesn't look like I owe them any money. So other than the rent, that was pretty much it for that old apartment. My next big expense was movers. I paid $275 plus a $60 tip. This was a last minute decision. I didn't think that I would need movers. I was trying to save money on that so that I could buy a little bit more furniture. I knew from the beginning that I should have just hired movers, but this was my first experience moving where I had some bigger things to move, but I also had family around that could help, and I had friends around that could help. Before, when I was in Michigan, that wasn't the case. So I thought that I had people who were willing to help. However, COVID interrupted those plans a little bit. So literally like 3 days before I planned on moving, I went ahead and just hired movers. The way I chose to do it is I had people who moved them and then I drove the U-Haul. So this is just the expense of movers. If I had to do it over again, I would rent a bigger U-Haul and hire movers from the beginning, because I moved a lot of like my totes and boxes of things by myself in my mom's car, because my mom has a big SUV, which was a huge help in moving. My car is very small and would not fit anything. I honestly just wish I would have bought movers 2 weeks earlier, paid a little bit more for a bigger U-Haul. It was so easy. This was by far worth every penny. I would have paid twice as much and it still would have been worth every penny. They moved me within an hour and a half, I think, and it was glorious. So on top of the cost of the movers, I also paid for the U-Haul. That was $65 plus about $15 in gas. I also didn't have any moving boxes, so I did pay for big totes. I also thought that those would work really well because I didn't have anything for storage. I didn't have any storage totes. Walmart had some really awesome ones on sale. So I ended up spending about $105 on packing totes and then about $16 on packing supplies, including like the saran wrap type of thing and some moving blankets. I also had to spend about $30 on extra cleaning supplies for the old apartment. Like I said, they were threatening to like charge for every little thing that I didn't clean. So I last minute took a trip down to see my dad for 3 weeks in Florida, and my lease for that apartment was going to end before I came back. So I last minute had to clean that apartment, and I went over there and then realized I didn't bring like half the cleaning supplies that I needed, and I could not for the life of me to get my stainless steel appliances to stop having streaks on them. So I had to go to the dollar store, pick up some cleaning supplies, and I spent about $30 on that stuff. Again, that was to clean out my old apartment because they were threatening to charge me for anything that I did not deep clean. That apartment was spotless. The next few things are definitely estimates, but I would say over the time of moving, I wasn't in a rush to move because I had such an overlap between my two leases. I didn't have to get out of my apartment one day and then be in my house the next. So it was kind of a little bit over time, taking little trips back and forth, like I said, in my mom's bigger car to take some totes, moving things back and forth over time as I went from the apartment to this new house before I fully moved in here. So I would say I spent about $100 in total on gas, making those trips back and forth, which again, if I had just hired movers from the beginning, it probably would have cost about the same amount and would have saved me so much time, but you live and you learn. I digress. Hire movers. I also calculated that in those few weeks, I probably spent around $200 on Starbucks for myself and Starbucks for the people who were helping me to move. My mom was moving some things back and forth with me. My partner at the time was helping me move some things back and forth. My brother helped me. So every time I would go over to pick them up, I would usually buy Starbucks. So I factored that in there as well, but give or take. And then finally, I probably spent about $500 on eating out, and that was before I got into this house. There were two different reasons my eating out budget for my moving was a little bit more than I anticipated. One of them was that this house didn't come with a fridge, which was okay because my mom had a fridge and storage. However, the reason I ended up having to hire movers was because my mom got COVID, and then my brother who lived with her couldn't leave. So I didn't have my fridge for the first week that I was moved in here. So I didn't have any food on hand here. So I spent a little bit more on eating out in that case. And then also in the prep of moving from my apartment to here, the date that I thought that I was going to officially be living mainly here changed around a lot. So I went a few days thinking I didn't want to cook anything because I'd be fully moved out of the apartment the next day, when in reality it ended up kind of getting extended. So I ate out a little bit more than I thought that I would, just to hold back on having to cook and do dishes and dirty everything that I'd already cleaned. So again, I'm estimating that that was around $500. Again, it could be more, could be less. I didn't keep track of all of my receipts. Things were a little bit hectic and I didn't plan on doing this video, so I didn't think to keep track. So all of that together, I spent around $3,010 on the moving process. The next big thing that I want to focus on is furnishing this house. Since I was moving from a 1-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, I had a lot more room. I wanted to make this house really feel like my own. My last apartment was the first one I really furnished kind of on my own, the whole thing, because I was living alone and I didn't have to think about how I was going to accommodate roommates or a partner or anything like that. I didn't have a lot of space, especially when it came to separating my workspace from my living space. And I really wanted to do that here. But I actually ended up spending a lot less money on this area than I thought that I would. And a big reason for that is that my mom had a lot of extra things in storage that I was able to kind of reuse or DIY or paint and upgrade to help me fill out my space for now that I really loved, and I would have definitely had to spend money on if she didn't have those things. So the first thing I want to focus on is the extra bedroom. I have 3 bedrooms, but one of them is my bedroom. One of them is the room we're in right now, my filming / work area. And then I had a 3rd bedroom that I didn't know what I wanted to do with, and I still don't really know what I want to do with, but I knew I wanted an extra bed so that whenever my brother comes to spend the night, or if I have anyone else, family, friends over, I have somewhere else that they can sleep and they can have their own space. I did get a free twin size mattress from my mom, but I paid for the bed frame, I got new pillows and bedding, and everything else I already had that I was able to kind of put into that room, and that was around $139. My guess is that I'll probably end up spending a little bit more money than that on wall decorations. I don't have too many things hung up yet. I haven't quite gotten there, so it's probably going to increase just a little bit, but a lot of wall decorations that I get are from thrift stores that I end up upcycling. The next category I want to focus on is furniture. I needed a kitchen table. I've never had a kitchen table. This is the first time I needed and wanted and had room for a kitchen table. I got one at Goodwill for $29 that I was able to paint, make look cute in my own, and it was perfect for the little space that I had. And with that, I got free chairs from my mom. She had some extras in storage, so I only had to pay for the cost of paint for those. I spent around $30 in chalk paint and brushes, which is what I mainly use to upcycle any furniture that I get, or to paint any dressers or things like that that I've either gotten from my mom's storage or from Goodwill or other thrift stores. I also got an amazing bookshelf bookcase thing off of Facebook Marketplace. It was only $60 and it retails for like over $300. It was such an awesome find and it's super wide. I'll put a picture here with my chair that I loved. We'll talk about it here in a second. I also got a shelf from Amazon that I bought literally right before I found that shelf on Facebook Marketplace because I wanted an extra bookshelf. I have now turned that shelf into a plant shelf. That was $90. I was going to return it, but for some reason it wasn't like a normal Amazon return, and they were telling me I could return it, but that I would have to pay for my own shipping, and to ship it, it was like not even worth returning. I figured I would just make use of it. So I've put that into the third bedroom. It's worked out perfectly. That was an extra $90. I also spent $50 on a basket buddy. I love my basket buddy. You might have known if you've like watched this channel for a while and I've mentioned it, but I don't hang up a lot of my clothes. With my ADHD, it doesn't work. I don't do laundry if I know I have to hang it up. So instead I have kind of a laundry basket system, and I've been looking for a way to hold my laundry baskets. Before I had them on the floor in like a big closet. But the thing about that is I don't have a big closet at this house, and also Dory and Oliver like to sit in the laundry baskets and then it gets their hair all over all of my clothes. So I wanted a way to store them. The basket buddy is awesome. Best $50 I've ever spent. This idea of like a no-fold laundry system comes from, why can I not remember her name? It's Casey, but why can I not remember her? I can't remember the name of her actual channel for the life of me. I will put her handle here. Casey is awesome. She came up with this concept. Well, I don't know if she came up with it, but I first saw it from her of like a no-fold laundry system and it blew my mind. I've done it ever since. So that was $50 well spent on the basket buddy. I think I might buy two. And then just a few extra little small things. I spent $6 on this cute sunflower planting that I got from Goodwill. I spent $1 on this globe right here, and then it wasn't white, I painted it white. Then I spent $8 on a mirror from Goodwill and $12 on a lamp. Some other things that I got for free, either on Facebook Marketplace or from my mom. I got a cute little ladder that I use as like a blanket ladder. I just had to spray paint that. A small entry/side table that I got, also just had to spray paint. I got a free big canvas that I just covered in chalk paint and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. And then my mom also gifted me that super cute little green chair that I have talked about in like 4 videos now that I absolutely loved, that I found from one of the thrift stores here in town. So all in all, that is about an extra $268 on furniture, keeping in mind that I had majority of the big things and I pretty much thrifted or bought secondhand, like everything except for the basket buddy, I think. Oh, and that Amazon shelf that I wanted to return but couldn't. I accidentally combined 2 categories, so $268 plus $27 because I counted decor as like the globe and like those little things. And then a final few miscellaneous things. I spent about $344 on extra shower curtains and rings and rods, stainless steel contact paper to make my fridge blend in a little bit more because all of my appliances are stainless steel, but the free fridge that I'm so thankful for that I got from my mom was white, so I bought some stainless steel looking contact paper to help it blend in a little bit more. I also spent this money on things like paper towel holders, extra toilet brushes because I now have 2 bathrooms, whereas before I only had 1, and a big trash can. And then I spent $99 on a hardwood vacuum because before I've only ever had carpet. So I wanted like one of those cordless kind of easy to run around vacuums since this house is all hardwood. Also in my like little rundown, I included some things that I wanted to make sure to mention, some little notes, caveats. I have noticed that since filming that first video that I kind of went more into depth of why I moved, I have not ordered DoorDash once since actually moving into this apartment. I spent a little bit more, like I was talking about, on DoorDash as I was moving, but since I've been fully moved in here, it hasn't even been a conscious decision. I just haven't. I don't know exactly why this is. My guess is that it's kind of a mixture of being in a better location, having a nicer kitchen, just enjoying being home more, and not like feeling the need to go out and eat all of the time or running around and then just picking things up. I've spent so much less money on eating out. I don't know if that will continue, but for the last month and a half, that's definitely remained true. There are still some purchases that I'm saving up for that I will like to add to this apartment. I don't have a proper TV stand for the living room, so that's a big thing that I want to get. I also really want a Dyson fan to put into my room. My room is like, I think it used to be 2 rooms or maybe a room and like a hallway, and it was converted into like what is a very large room, but I like to be really cold at night, and before it starts warming up and I'm having to turn the AC on, I really want to invest in a Dyson fan because I don't need the whole house to be cooler. I just want cool air on me. So I really think that investing in that is actually going to save me a lot in electric, not needing to cool down the entire house, being able to keep it a little bit warmer everywhere else, but have that cooler system in my room. Also, like I briefly mentioned, I plan on spending more on decor, probably mainly like wall decor, once I have figured out where I want my main pieces of furniture to be. And honestly, all in all, like I ended the last video on a crying session because of how thankful I was for my mom. I really think that like having my mom and having someone who had extra things that I could use saved me like $3,000, if not more, honestly, and probably will continue to save me money. So I think that that was a huge privilege that I have now that I've never had before. And now that I've talked about it, hopefully I won't be as emotional at the end of this video about that. I went more into depth of why my mom was so important to me in this move and how much I was thankful for that support in the first video. But I do want to mention that I think the reason I was able to keep my costs so low was the privilege of having someone who could not only help, but also had some things to offer. Because if nothing else, I would have had to spend a lot of money on a fridge. And thankfully, I'm able to kind of put that off, and I'll be able to save up more money to get hopefully a fridge that I like really love. That's more of an investment than what I would have probably purchased had I had to purchase one outright. So with all of that being said, all in all, if my calculations are correct, which they probably are off a little bit, but I double checked them and I came up with the same answer, so we'll see. I spent $3,788 on my move. I would go ahead and say it's probably safe to just round that up to $4,000. There are probably expenses I haven't remembered. I've been really trying to think about it and make sure I write down everything as I remember them, including the fact that like $1,600 of that was the overlapping rent. So that is it. Those are my numbers on how much it cost me to move. I'm so thankful for this house. It's been a bit of a pain in the ass being a renter of a house versus an apartment. However, I think that so far, the pros have outweighed the cons by far. My camera is getting ready to die, so this is like perfect timing. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you learned some cool things. Let me know down in the comments what you think, what you tend to spend the most money on, some expenses that you figured out with moving that are either worth it or not worth it, or expenses that you completely forgot about until you moved and then you realized that you were gonna have to spend a lot of money on that thing. Tell me your thoughts and ideas in the comments. I always love hearing from you all. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye. Oh, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. Excuse me. Just gonna apply more lip gloss so I forgot my lipstick. Hi, Dory. You need some loving, Dory? How about you lay down? Okay, thanks.